It started with a number that didn't make sense. Not a score, not a contract figure. A number that made executives blink, fans gasp, and the baseball world quietly ask itself, what is happening right now? Because when Shohei Ohtani steps onto a field, reality bends. And this time, it bent so hard it cracked. The stadium lights came on like they always do. The grass looked the same. The bases were still 90 feet apart. But the air was different. Heavy, electric, almost nervous. You could feel it before the first pitch. This wasn't just another game. This was an event. Shohei Ohtani stood in the on-deck circle, calm as ever, eyes locked forward. No theatrics. No bravado. And yet, every camera lens found him. Every conversation circled back to him. Every heartbeat in the stadium quietly synced to his next move. Because baseball wasn't just being played anymore. It was being watched, by the world. The numbers started circulating quietly at first. 19.9, 18.6. They didn't look dramatic on paper. Until someone explained what they meant. Television ratings, market impact, audience share, nearly 20% spikes tied to one man's presence. 18.6% surges when he appeared, swung, pitched, or even sat in the dugout. Executives didn't celebrate. They froze. Because those weren't normal superstar numbers. Those were anomaly numbers. Numbers that don't exist in a sport built on tradition, patience, and slow-burning loyalty. This wasn't just popularity. It was gravitational pull. Fans weren't just watching games. They were rearranging their lives around them. Late-night broadcasts in Asia. Early morning wake-ups in the US. Phones lighting up at 3 a.m. Offices suddenly quiet as people refreshed box scores instead of emails. Shohei Ohtani had turned baseball into a global appointment event. And that's when the confusion began. Ticket prices surged overnight. Merchandise sold out before restocks could even arrive. Broadcasters scrambled to change schedules, pushing other stars aside because the data was merciless. When Ohtani played, people watched. When he didn't, they left. Veteran players noticed it first. They'd step up to the plate in packed stadiums, only to feel the crowd deflate once Ohtani's at-bat was over. Not jealousy, just reality. This wasn't one player among many. This was a sport orbiting a single point. Opposing pitchers felt it too. They weren't just facing a hitter. They were facing expectation. Every pitch to Ohtani felt heavier. One mistake, and the highlight would circle the globe before the ball even landed. And when he connected, when that unmistakable crack of the bat echoed, time slowed. Outfielders didn't move at first. They just looked. Fans rose before the ball cleared the fence, because they knew. They always knew. But the abnormal situation wasn't just about home runs or strikeouts. It was about pressure. Front offices whispered behind closed doors. How do you build a team around a force this big without letting everything else collapse? Teammates lived in a strange duality. They were inspired, and overshadowed. Motivated, and invisible. Because no matter how well they played, the headlines always found the same name. Shohei Ohtani. Even his silence was loud. He didn't boast. Didn't chase attention. Which somehow made it worse. Because the sport couldn't control him. Sponsors adjusted campaigns mid-season. Networks rewrote narratives. Baseball, a game proud of its balance and patience, was suddenly sprinting to keep up. And fans. Fans were caught between awe and exhaustion. They loved him. They feared what would happen when he wasn't there. Because 19.9 and 18.6 weren't just spikes. They were warnings. They proved how fragile the ecosystem had become. How dependent it was on one extraordinary human being. Yet every night, Ohtani showed up the same way. Quiet, focused, relentless. He pitched with surgical precision. He hit with violent beauty. He ran the bases like someone chasing history rather than records. And in doing so, he reminded everyone why the chaos existed in the first place. Because this wasn't hype. This was once-in-a-lifetime reality. We aren't watching a player. We're watching a moment that may never repeat. Years from now, people won't argue about stats. They'll talk about how it felt. How the world paused when he stepped into the box. How numbers stopped making sense. How baseball briefly became something bigger than itself. An abnormal situation, yes. Chaotic, unbalanced, uncomfortable, but also unforgettable. And when the lights finally dim, and the crowds move on, one truth will remain. We were here when Shohei Ohtani made the game tremble.